Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Today, we are presenting part one of our two-part interview with saxophonist, composer, educator, and executive director of the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival, Mr. Paul Carr. We ask you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. Today we have the wonderful saxophonist, composer, educator, and the executive and artistic director of the Mid-Atlantic Jazz Festival, the one and only Mr. Paul Carr. Brother Paul Carr, how you doing, big brother?
Fine, man. How you doing, Antonio?
Good, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Man, I'm honored. Seriously,
No,
I'm honored.
seriously.
I think I've known you, man, for at least 30 years.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And I heard about you before I met you. Because
Wow.
Kevin Levi used to talk about you.
Oh, yeah, man. I love Kevin.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. He used to talk about you. He used to speak highly of you.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what
then I think one time I went to Tacoma Station, and you were leading a quintet. And we're
Okay.
going to talk about that.
Okay.
You remember when you used to play?
Ooh, yeah,
back then?
that's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, and I got to hear you, and that's where I first met you, you know. So, but this is about learning the story behind the story.
Okay.
Okay, so I know the Paul Carr, the musician and all that, but I want to know the backdrop.
Okay.
You did?
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So my first question, who is Paul Carr?
Ooh, Paul Carr is he's a brother. I'm one of 6 kids. And yeah,
Are you the oldest?
No, I'm next to the youngest.
Okay.
And I'm the only boy so I have 5 sisters. I had 5 sisters. Yeah.
How'd you get through that? I'm just joking.
Oh no! It's funny. It's like, so the thing about being raised with sisters is, so you have no excuse for not being potty trained.
Yeah.
I mean, we're men. Sometimes men we're a little slow on the house training rules, but I was house trained from the beginning. And if you wasn't, the sisters will, they would whip you into shape. So
Yeah.
I have so much respect for women and so much respect for the way that they rule the world, really.
Yeah. Usually a guy that got all sisters is usually a player. Because they know how to, you know what I'm saying? And you seem so reserved.
I know what not to do. I know what not to do, but a player. That's funny.
Wow, I didn't know that, man.
Yes.
So are you and your siblings close?
Yeah. Oh, my sisters. Yeah, I've had a few to pass away, but my 2 remaining sisters, we're very close. We actually, we broke the COVID rules and got together over the holidays, but we were very, very safe. So, so yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's something, man. That's interesting, man. So did they spoil you as their only brother?
That's what they say, but I don't think so. I still had to do a few things. But with my mother, she ruled with kind of an iron fist. So by the time I came along, she had relaxed a couple of the rules and stuff. So my sisters say that I got away with a bunch of stuff, but I don't think so.
So did you have any boy cousins? Because you want somebody to play. Did you have? Yeah.
Absolutely, I had my cousin, actually pretty the same age as me, and he used to play in the high school jazz band with me. Vincent. Yeah, so we were like real tight. Plus, he lived right down the street.
Okay.
So that was kind of like my running buddy, and he was a little bit more mischievous than I was. So I used to always be the calming effect to try to keep us not to get in so much trouble.
Yeah. So you're from the great state of Houston. I mean, of Texas. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
The
Yeah, but
state of Texas, but Houston, Texas.
Yeah, that was funny because Houston is like a state within a state. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's so big.
I got
Houston is so huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Houston a little over a year ago.
No, okay.
Yeah, I had it.
Yeah.
Really nice.
So
what was it like coming up in Houston?
Well, it was Houston had a really rich heritage of music. You know, so a lot of great players. Arnett, Cobb, Don Wilkerson, my band director, Conrad Johnson, my junior high school band director, Warren E. Turner, was a saxophone player. So it was actually really, really cool because you could always hear some music. That was even, we call them juke joints. But that were like, joints in the hood where you can go hear a band.
Y'all called them juke joints?
Back then, yeah. So you could actually.
You must be from another generation.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, it's like you don't know. Of course I am.
So are you? Did you come up in the hood?
I absolutely came up in the hood, Kashmere Gardens. You know, we didn't think it was in the hood because everybody owned their house there. But now I find out it's like, grew up, oh, wow, that's an urban, economically depressed area. But we didn't feel like that.
Did you have to fight and all that kind of stuff? And all that?
I didn't get into too many fights, but yeah, that was I avoided the contact. But yeah, you had to navigate your way to it was you had to know what not to do, to.
I like to tell young people because we came up in a different time.
Yeah.
Pre-technology.
Right.
And there was a black community.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so was it like that in Houston? Like
Yeah.
you had your neighbors, could be looking out at you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You respected your adults and
You respected the adults, respect your neighbor. Someone could tell your parents that they saw you doing something, and you would get reprimanded for it, or worse, just on the hearsay of someone's thought that they saw you doing something.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
So, and that actually happened to me a couple of times. So,
So did you come up with your dad?
Oh yeah, yes. He was in the house for a period.
Okay.
And then my mom and they split.
Okay.
Right about the time I was about in the fifth grade going to sixth grade, somewhere around in there. But by that time, I was pretty much set with older sisters and a mom that was by today's standards would be called strict.
So your value system, does that come from your sisters, your mom, dad?
Absolutely, from my mom. Yeah, all together. Especially my mother. I would say because she was the heavy. So it's mostly from my mother. Yeah.
Where do you get your demeanor? Because you're like a laid back, reserved cat, but you have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that? I'm energetic and
I love your demeanor. I love the.
I'm trying to calm myself down. Yeah.
No. That's what's the beauty about you. It's like your demeanor and you make the show. To be honest with you, no, I'm seriously. So, but no, it's probably because my mom was real calm. It's real calm. But that was a burning fire in there, and she was she's a hard worker. So
did you pick that up, hard work?
Yeah. And she didn't cause a lot of attention to herself and stuff like that. She was a nurse, and so she worked from 11 to 7. I guess they call it the graveyard shift. But I'm going to tell you, so she'd come home in the morning after and take us to school most of the time. So she'd be working 8 hours, sometimes overtime or whatever. Of course, the days that she would work 16 hours straight because it was six of us. And so, but a lot of times she'd be working those long hours and come and take us, drive us to school. So she had to sleep in the daytime, so things had to be in order. So we could be out, doing anything crazy.
You had to be in by dark.
All of that. Yeah.
So how'd you get started in music?
This is my mother again. She loved music. She loved jazz. And so I used to hear records. So that might have been the first thing I heard was jazz playing in the house that I remembered. And she loved the saxophone. So I would hear all these records all the time in the house. And she said, as soon as you can, get big enough, I'm going to get you a saxophone. So I was hearing that as a kid and stuff.
You was hearing jazz in the house?
Yeah, I was hearing jazz in the house as a kid. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Did you like it?
Oh yeah, I liked it. That's all I knew. You know what I'm saying? And then and then my sisters, they were teenagers, and I was, because they're like 8, 9 years older than me. So I would start to hear the R&B and that kind of stuff as well. But when my mom was there, my sisters, they were out doing their thing. But when we was at the house, my mom is playing jazz.
So what kind of jazz was she playing? Was she playing train and all that?
It was mostly soul jazz.
Okay.
So it was like
Mercy.
Cannonball Alley.
Yeah.
I have her original record. She liked Les McCann, Eddie Harris. That whole scene. And actually, I heard she bought Johnny Hammond at Wild Horses with Grover Washington Jr. on it. Okay.
Wow.
So so I was hearing all that. I didn't even know that was. Well, obviously, I didn't know that was Grover. But yes, so she was playing all that stuff in the house, and then of course she bought Mr. Magic, and so I was hearing all that in the house. Yeah.
So was saxophone your first instrument?
That's first instrument. Yeah.
Tenor saxophone?
Alto.
Alto. So you started as an alto player.
I started as an alto player.
Okay.
Yeah, and you say you want to talk about that later, but it's funny. It's a couple of funny things.
How you switched over?
Yeah, exactly.
But you started out as an alto player.
Started out as an alto player.
Okay, so were you playing in the school?
Yeah, I went to to Kashmere High School, which is a famous down in Houston, Texas. Conrad Johnson actually was the band director there, and this was a all-black school, and he was the jazz band director there, and the band from the 60s would go to these competitions and win these competitions where they would be, obviously they would be the only African-American band there. Wow. And so I always wanted, coming up, when I was in middle school and whatever, I wanted to be in the Kashmere Stage Band. And matter of fact, Jamie Foxx did a movie on Conrad Johnson's life called called Thunder Soul.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's called Thunder Soul. Yeah, it's there's some dramatics that's added in it because it's a movie. But there's a couple of people in my class, that when I graduated are in the movie, really? And I heard that they were recording the movie, and they was but I didn't really. I kind of, how sometimes I didn't.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah, and I just didn't think it was going anywhere. Because a lot of times people always saying things, and I didn't get I didn't get a sense. I should have been a little bit more investigative on that. But the movie came out. It's great.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, it's called Thunder Soul. Jamie Foxx, got the story. Got the story.
Now, and it's built around one of your teachers.
It's built around Conrad Johnson
now,
and his
Conrad
program.
Johnson?
Conrad Johnson was the band director at Kashmere High School.
So what was special about him that
what
they
he
did a movie about?
What he did was because the band was so. You got to understand the band in down south. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than up here where we live. I mean, band, when you play in the band, it's just as important as you playing in the football team. You have you have just as many fans. Mm-hmm. There are people that have been following the band for decades.
Wow.
And so, like I said, that he took the band. It was the Kashmere Stage Band, and so the Kashmere Stage Band, when we would rehearse, that would be the band room, but that'd be the band rehearsing. But the rest of the band room was filled up with people just listening.
Wow.
People just listening. They were just there.
What happened to that? What happened to that?
I don't. And there was no. There were no.
Advertisement or anything?
Oh no, there was no behavior problems. He never had to turn around and say, "You all be quiet." It was just, and these were students. Sometimes there were people just from the neighborhood, just walking on. Can you imagine that now? Just walking on a school campus,
just to check out the music,
just to hear the band.
Wow.
So that band had that kind of legacy, and like I said, the band had gone to Alabama, had gone to all these other states, and won these competitions. Okay. And what he did was he fused kind of the modern day funk at that time with jazz. And what he did was he wrote the music for the band. So instead of playing stock arrangements, He wrote the arrangements.
Yeah.
So he would write the arrangements based on the talent in the band.
Okay.
And he was a saxophone player, so he would always make everybody sure that everybody was playing the right changes and swinging or doing whatever. So a lot of times we showed up. And it was during the time where we have moves going on with the music. You know, I don't know if you've seen any of those bands. So a lot of times when we show up, it's over. You know, we go in for the competition. It's over. You know, it was like, you know. So
did you start playing in high school? Or were you
I started in middle school. You know, 6th grade. You know.
So did you start formally, or what? Or were you playing by ear? How's that?
Well, the band program. I didn't actually get a formal saxophone lesson until I got to college. So I'd never,
Really?
Yeah, I never had a saxophone lesson.
So how'd you learn? Okay,
well, like I said, my saxophone, my teacher in middle school was a saxophone player. Warren E. Turner, great. And I think he was in school the same time that Billy Harper was at North Texas.
Wow.
So he used to tell me stories about, he used to tell us stories, now I'm in middle school, he's telling us stories about Billy Harper. We don't know who Billy Harper is.
Yeah.
You know, so he used to tell us about how much he practiced. So he was a saxophone player. And so he could tell me if, you know, if something's going on wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I really wanted to play. So, I was really motivated. And then I went to Kashmere, who's also a saxophone
So you're
player.
self-taught, pretty much?
Self-taught other than band, and so I got to.
So how did you learn how to read music?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was in the band program.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So the band directors taught us how to read music and stuff like that.
Man, that's
I really wish I could have gone to. Now looking back, had private lessons, stuff like that. I'll never forget the story. So you've heard of the High School of Performing Arts down in Houston. Robert Glasper. Let me see, Walter Smith, Kendrick Scott,
Dave.
Chris Dave. Yeah. All of those guys.
LaRon Land?
Absolutely. Yeah. All of them went to High School of Performing Arts. So, and I was dead set on going and being in the Kashmere Stage Band. And so I'll never forget, it was time for me to make that decision. And Mr. Turner, he gave me the thing. He says, I said, and I looked at that, application for High School Performing Arts. I said, Mr. Turner, I want to go to play in the Kashmere Stage Band. He said, and then what, son? And then he knew that I needed to shore up a lot of other things, but yeah, I never forgot that. Yeah.
So, when you play, I know you were playing in the high schools. Were you still listening to jazz? Did you know you wanted to play jazz? Did you want to play?
No, I wanted to play jazz. So I was definitely always trying to pick stuff off of the record. So even when I was in middle school, I used to try to pick off the horn parts for like Chicago. I remember that. One of my sister's boyfriends loved Chicago, so he'd be playing, and so I try to pick the horn parts off of that those records. And then as I got in high school, then it kind of moved over to me trying to, pick stuff off of the records with jazz.
So do you have perfect pitch?
No. It's just a decent relative. I'm not gonna say it's yeah.
So how'd you develop it? Just from doing that?
Just from doing that.
Is that what you teach some of your students?
That's exactly what I teach. It's all about it's about ear. It's about using like I say, use this term. I don't know where I got it from. Use your ear without fear. So the first
I like that, man. Use your ear without
fear. So
I'm scared to use my ear.
I start off every lesson with some type of ear training thing. So we'll do that. I mean, before COVID, I just say soon as your butt hit the seat, we do some kind of ear training thing. But now doing it over the Zoom is not exactly the same. But anyway. But yeah, every lesson starts with some type of ear training thing.
So can you walk in and hear a song like "The Sorcerer"?
Right.
By Miles Davis.
I know.
Mm-hmm. And that's Herbie Hancock, right? And just hear the changes and
I could hear the key centers, and I could be able to hear what not to do. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
So I don't really know. Might not know where. Of course, I don't know where all the changes are, especially with somebody like Herbie playing. But yeah, I could find the sounds.
And you can find your way in the
I can, yeah. Most times I could find my way. Yeah.
By the time I figure out the keys to the next best.
And it's kind of like a challenging thing to me. So I like to play with singers. So a lot of times, they will, they have all these charts. I say, I don't really need the charts. And some singers I work with now, unless there's a line that they need me to play, they don't even give me charts. So I just go in there cold. By the time that they now this isn't most times. I'm not gonna say every time, but most times by the time they've sung a song down, the chorus down, I've already kind of like have an idea of what not to do.
Is there a process to do that? I mean, like, are you listening for the form or say, okay?
Yeah, listen for the form. Then you figure out the key, the bookend. I call it bookends, where the the A and B sections, and
Okay.
and if you practice, I don't want to get too technical. 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 in all keys. You can.
Yeah, something that's I started learning, okay, by eyes. You see the chord change.
Right.
You can put this on it.
Exactly.
Exactly. And you learn how to do that, but it's, again, you're not necessarily using your ears.
Right. Right.
So.
See, that's the thing. See, jazz is a sound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So jazz is a sound. I'll never forget. I was up at Michigan State a couple of years ago, and one of the students asked me, "Well, what did you play on that B something sharp 9 or whatever, some kind of chord?" He said, and I said, "Well, what I was doing was just reacting to what the drummer was playing."
Wow.
So it didn't really have anything to do with the chord,
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of the thing. It's just like it's you're just playing from sound,
I wish I'd have learned that when I started. It's harder.
Well, you don't sound like that now. What you talking
I'm
about?
still struggling
You
with
don't
it.
know. You don't sound like that
It's
now.
harder to unlearn something than it is to learn it.
Yeah.
And so because you develop a mental, way that you do something and you have to you're trying to,
Yeah, but you're a really good reader, and I've been in section. We've been in sections together before, where you played first and played second alto, and I've sit next to you or on the other side of you, and I know that you're a good reader. No, I mean I know
that
that.
was one of my strong.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to develop the earpiece. I'm
Right.
singing. Now, did you sing in a choir and all that coming up?
Not really. No.
Were you a church cat?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was actually down south. You kind of forced to go to church. Yeah. You cannot go to church.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and when I got old enough, I started playing in the sax for the choir. So which was really, really good because there's no music.
Yeah.
There's no music. So I was I used to the band the choir director would give me a little 8-measure ride on every song. I'll never forget one time we was in rehearsal, and so he was trying to get to one of the choir members to say this pitch, and so he hit the piano. And then she said, no, that ain't my pitch. And then he goes, "Paul, play the pitch." So I said, "Boy," and then she said, "That ain't my pitch." Can you imagine trying to?
That ain't my pitch.
Yeah. Can you imagine
Wow.
trying to work with people like that? Yeah. So my hat's off to all
So
teachers.
you're from the South, right? Mm-hmm. Did you come up with a lot of that Southern hospitality and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. I was, it's ingrained.
I
Yeah.
remember as a kid, I'm from Philly. I got cousins in Alabama, and I remember we all my cousins, we went down south to Alabama, man, and man, it was just a whole nother kind of vibe.
Oh, absolutely. People just show up at your house. Yeah.
It's a lot of love, man.
Right.
Did y'all have a big mama? You had a big mama?
Well, my grandmother who would be the closest thing to that. She lived to be 105. So she would be. That's what we call it, because whatever she said, whatever came up, she said it. Mm-hmm. So there was no filter like you were talking about earlier. We were talking earlier about it. She didn't have a filter. She'd give it to you straight. My mother's mother. She'd give it to you straight. Boom, boom, boom. Either you deal with it or not, because that's the way it's coming out.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, she's true. It's true what she's saying. Yeah.
So, what saxophonists or what musicians had the impact on you when you were starting out?
When I was starting out, it would, because I was down from Texas, I would probably say it was David Fathead Newman, because my mother had his records.
Okay.
And she took me to a concert one time, and he had all his instruments out there. He had flute and tenor and alto and all that kind of stuff. And I said, man, I want to do that. So, and she used to listen to this record he was on. I guess it was maybe one of his records, Something in the Way You Walk. So I used to hear that all the time. So, you know, David Fathead Newman. Then, of course, Grover Washington Jr. Yeah. And then when I was in high school, the band director, Prof, that's what we call Conrad Johnson, he gave me a piece to play, and it was I Remember Bird. And,
wow.
And I remember Bird, and it was Phil Woods playing it. Mm-hmm. And I used to try to listen to that thing over and over again to catch what Phil Woods was playing. So
were you listening to more alto players back then?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All alto players. Wow. And then I got on Tower of Power. I can give you stories about Prague. So I got on Tower of Power, and Lenny Pickett playing the solo on live, and then doing all that kind of stuff. So I showed this to Prophet. He listened to it. He said, so then he takes the Tower of Power record off, hands it back to me like this, and then he goes and get a Charlie Parker Bird record and put it down.
Wow. There you go. So was that the first time you heard Bird?
That was the first time I heard Bird.
Would you think?
Yeah, well, you know, I was in high school, so I wasn't really, you know, I was still thinking, you know, Phil Woods was the man, you know, on alto, because, you know, and then as I got older.
Bird was the first jazz cat I heard. And let me tell you how I got to Bird. I was trying to learn how to play jazz, because I heard, you know, I was hearing Joey DeFrancesco down there. And I said, man, I'm trying to learn. So we had Zaff's Music in Philly. Mm-hmm. So I was going to find a book. You know, I saw this book of Charlie Parker. And we had the same last name.
There you go.
And he was on playing the alto, played the same instrument. I said, well, let me get this book. So it was a book of his solos.
Yeah.
I took that joint home, man, and you know, I started reading. I could read.
Right.
And it made me sound good. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow. And so this wasn't an Omni book yet. It was a black book to Charlie Parker. And man, then I went and got the album Bird at St. Nick's. Blown away.
Yeah, that's so hard. Yeah.
So
it can hurt your feelings.
A lot of people, it takes them a minute to hear Bird.
Right.
But I heard him like the first time.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So who was your alto dude?
My alto dude was you know, it was Phil Woods, then it went into Cannonball Adderley, and it was like Cannonball. It was like, you know, and actually someone told me to pick up the record, The Land of Hi-Fi, and I just learned and the solos were short. Okay. So I got, you know, so I could pick, you know, a lot of those solos, and after I was just, you know.
So you were transcribing a lot in high school?
I was transcribing by ear. A lot of times I didn't get everything, you know, because I know some guys got all of their transcripts from high school, you know. But I wasn't writing. I didn't write it. I didn't write it down. But I was just, you know, going by ear and catching as what I could catch. Yeah.
So how did transcribing help you as a musician?
It's like you feels like that you're part of the band, you know, and so I think it really helped with timing. You know what I'm saying? Really helped with timing and stuff like that, and sound too, because because even though that you have the Omni book or transcription, you still have to go over it a lot of times to get all the depth and breadth of the transcription. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to actually marry your sound into what's going on the record, so you can read it, but you're not going to catch everything. You know. So by the time you and I think. I don't. If someone uses transcription, you know, that's fine to me, you know. But just realize to get it like you need to get it for it to internalize it. You got to keep going. You got to keep playing it as many times, you know, almost as many times as it was to be the transcript.
Now, would you memorize these solos?
Some of them I will. Yeah.
Did they stick with you? Because sometimes you can. Do they?
Yeah. It's one of you. I just posted a couple of Dexter solos that I learned years ago, maybe when I was at Howard or something, and I've taught to my students over the years.
Wow.
And so I was just playing them. I was playing them, and I posted a couple of clips of me playing them up on Instagram the other day.
And you can record them?
Oh yeah. If I hear, a lot of times I might be a step behind because I haven't heard it in a long time. Gotcha. But if I hear it a couple of times, then I can go on.
Yeah, wow, man.
I mean, it's all it is. It's nothing. It's just from doing it over and over again. Yeah. That's all it is. Reps.
Now, Texas is known for that Texas tenor sound.
Yeah.
Were you into that? Were you? Although I know you was playing alto, but did you hear that coming up?
Oh yeah, I heard that, and I heard a lot that my sound wasn't, up to the standard of the Texas sound. So Conrad Johnson used to tell me all the time, you need to work on your sound. You're playing too many notes. Because I always. Even from the beginning, I wanted to play a bunch of notes. I don't. Hey man, I just wanted to play, and so I still sometimes I still struggle with that. But anyway, and so he used to always tell me, you need to slow down. You're not playing. How can you work on your tone if you're playing so many notes? And of course, all that stuff is right. But but he'd always tell me, but. Then when I found out and started listening to other players, I found out my sound wasn't as small as he led me to be, but he just wanted me to focus on it,
And your sound's probably over the years as you practice.
Yeah.
Wow. So did you go now? Okay, so were you gigging during high school? Did you do any gigs?
I didn't. Very, very set. No.
Okay.
I would go and hear other players, but.
So did you come to Howard University right out of high school?
No, I was at Texas Southern.
Okay.
I went to Texas Southern, which is another historically black university, and it was actually really good. Very marching band. It's in the SWAC. Very marching band. We would play Grambling, Jackson State, those types of schools. So it had this really rich, marching band heritage, but it also had jazz too. At 12 o'clock in the day, when everybody was on lunch break, they would let the jazz band rehearse for an hour.
Okay.
And had a band director named Lanny Steele, who was just the complete polar opposite of Conrad Johnson. So he was more free. He was more free, and he also wrote his tunes, but he was into Cecil Taylor. He was into a lot of different types of.
Was that a 4-year university?
It's a 4-year university, and I stayed there actually 4 years, and then we came up here to the Washington D.C. area, and who was my wife. She wasn't my wife then. We came up to visit her brother, and he lived here. And he took me to Moore's, Love and Peace, and he took me to a couple of other places. And I sat in with a couple of bands. I said, this is the place, man. because down in Houston, there's jazz, but it's like in, straight ahead jazz. There's jazz, but it's like in one place, or it's like on Sunday evenings or whatever. But I was up here, it was like, wow, there's jazz here, there's jazz here, and blah, blah, and I said,
so was it a culture shock when you came to?
Oh, absolutely. So I was saying, this is the place that we want to be. And so the next year, and then I heard I heard Howard University album, and I said, wow, man, this, I want to move, here. Yeah. And so a year later, we moved up here. I sent in a tape to.
You said we? Who's we?
My wife and I. Yeah.
Carmen?
Carmen, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So is Carmen from Texas?
She's from Memphis.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and
I met her
in high school?
We met at college. We met in college.
At
Texas Southern.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where she's a saxophone player too. She plays
really?
saxophone.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah. Yeah. She was a saxophone player. But she was more on the classical side of it. And so when she got there, it was like me, Kurt Whalum, another fantastic saxophone player, John Gordon, Aubrey Dunham, Don Babel. So all of these. So we were all in the sax section, and I was a low man on the totem pole, and she was saying, I think I'm going to give up the sax. Yeah, I think I'm not going to play the. I think I'm not going to play the saxophone because it was great. But my freshman year, this guy named Don Babels, he wrote this song called "The Claps." Like that, yeah. And so one, and it was 3 solos, saxophone solos. So one key, John Gordon would play. It would modulate. I would play a solo. And since I knew Kurt was coming behind me, I would play everything in the world that I know. You would see sweat coming down.
Kurt Weller?
Yeah, Kurt Weller. Yeah, you would see sweat because I knew Kurt was coming. And then it modulated to Kurt play. Kurt play maybe 2 measures. Everybody in the audience.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Oh man, that's a true story. That's a true story. You know, by the time I caught on to what was you know what I'm saying? The band director stopped playing the tune. You know, but that was toward the end of the year. So I was getting waxed the whole year.
You met Kurt Whalum?
I met Kurt Whalum in actually high school because he's a couple of years in ahead of me. So at one of the high school festivals, he heard me play. Wow. And he said, "Oh man, you sound good, blah, blah, blah. You should think about coming to Texas Southern." Kurt's a beautiful, really, really a beautiful guy. He said, "You think about coming to Texas Southern." And so when I was in high school, like I was telling you, the high school band competition thing is really, it's like a really big thing. Mm-hmm. So I'd won a few awards. So I had this, you know, I'm like a guy now.
You was the man in high school?
Yeah, well, one of them, you know, and so I had a little thing. So of course, at Texas Southern, they had heard about me. So he said, "Yeah, man, you should come to Texas Southern," and blah, 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 blah. And
was he playing tenor?
Oh yeah, he was playing tenor. So I was playing second alto. Mm-hmm. So I used to sit right next to Kurt.
Did he have that Kilworth?
Oh no. He had a King Super 20.
Okay.
Sound exactly the same as he sound now.
Wow. Really?
So it's really not the instrument.
Yeah.
He was playing a King Super 20 and a Bert Lawson, a mouthpiece.
Really?
Yeah. And so yeah, it was. That's
amazing, man.
And so I could play like to circle back what you're talking about. I could hear a little bit, like I said, but I couldn't really play. I couldn't look at the changes and play. So one day in rehearsal, since I'm supposed to be the big freshman guy that had this revenge, so one of Lanny Steele's tunes had all these changes down there, and Kurt say, "Okay, man, play." And I couldn't play because I couldn't look at it was just,
wow.
It was just so much. It was, it was.
You wasn't reading changes at that time?
Oh, no, I wasn't not reading changes. I was just going by sound, and you knew you can't hear everything.
Yeah, wow.
You know?
Wow,
you
that
know?
is something, man.
Yeah, man. So
when did you know I want to pursue a career as a musician?
Right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Yeah, it's going to be something. I knew I was going to be something, in music.
So it was an instant love affair. Yeah.
Absolutely, instant love affair. I loved it from the minute. My mother never had to tell me to practice.
So you was called.
Yeah, I was called. But the thing about it is, I really wish I would have had a little bit of guidance with less. But that just wasn't in the cards. Budgetary wise. But it would have been nice to have some formal lessons.
Yeah, well, and in jazz we talk about having a little ignorance in it.
Ignorance.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Keep the ignorance.
I got a lot of that.
Yeah. So you left. Now you left Texas Southern?
Right.
Was that against the band director's wishes?
No. At that time, he even told me one year we went up to the Notre Dame Jazz Festival, and he even told me one year, and he saw, and I came back the next semester. He says, "Oh, I thought you would be gone by now," because we went up to the Notre Dame Jazz Festival, and I got a award or whatever. And he said, "Oh, I thought you'd be in New York by now." He kind of like a little backhand comment. And then that next summer is when I came up here, and then that's that story. And I sent a tape to Dr. Dawkins,
okay.
And they gave me a scholarship. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you ain't had to pay? I got some scholarships.
Yeah, of course you did. Of course you did.
So when you got to Howard, now you had credits that matriculated.
Yes,
over.
Absolutely.
So how many years?
I had to do 2 years.
So you had to do 2 years?
So Dawkins looked at my transcript and he goes, that's why I love those guys. Dr. Dawkins, he says, "Hey man, haven't you been in school long enough?" He said, "Man, you got
like that."
Yeah. He said, "You got to give me 4 semesters. You got to give me 4 semesters." And then he put my transcript down. Yeah. So that's what happened. I came up here.
So you chose Howard.
Yeah.
Now, did you choose D.C. or did you choose Howard?
It's a little of both. I also had a chance to go to Virginia Commonwealth down in Richmond because Steve Wilson was there, and he was trying to actively get me to go to Virginia Commonwealth because he was there. I think Doug Richards was the band director, but I thought that D.C. is closer to New York, and like I said, Carmen, she already had a brother here, so we kind of knew the area a little bit.
So what part of D.C. were you living in? Or were you in a dorm?
No. We actually, by this time, I got married, and then we moved up here. So we had a little apartment in Landover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day. People that know what I'm talking about. So it was like the ice cream truck coming by at 3 in the morning. It's like, who's buying ice cream at 3 in the morning? Ding, ding. Yeah. So
you got to D.C. a little before I got here. I got in here in 87.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. And I stayed to 85.
Okay.
And then,
So
I stayed in at Howard to 85, and then Kevin Levi actually told me about you. So
wow.
Yeah.
I came to Howard because of Kevin.
Yeah. Okay.
I came to just happened to. I had a high school teacher who was alumnus. She paid me to visit, and the band was just happened to be playing in Crampton. And I heard Kevin Levi, and I was just blown away. Man.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm going to Howard.
Right.
Yeah, so were you in the A band or the B band?
I was in A band. I was in A band from the beginning.
Were you playing alto or tenor?
I was playing. But it's always with tenor. So when I had my audition with Mr. Irby, so he so I had both instruments. So alto, I was still calling myself an alto player, and so. And he gave me an audition, and he gave some real hard stuff to play. It was real hard Mike Crotty tunes, you know what I'm saying, and odd meters to sight read. I didn't do so well, and then at least I felt I didn't do so well. He, how Irby goes, So then he says, what is that over there? I said, that's a tenor. So I took out the tenor, and he goes, and I went, I played a couple of scales. He says, I have a spot for you in the band. He said,
wow.
You play tenor, you play tenor in the band. And so, and that was that was in the summer of, I guess it's 83 or something. And the Howard had a State Department trip on tap.
Wow.
And so it's like, I'm in town maybe a month and a half, and boom, I'm on a plane with the Howard. I hadn't even registered for school yet.
Wow.
And I'm out there with Chris Rawle and Chucky, Howard Crawford, all of these. I'm out.
Who were some of the cats in the band?
Yeah, it was Howard Crawford, Gerald Pennington was Reed at the time, Chucky, Chuck Rawle, Chris Rawle, Bazemore playing trombone.
Was Roger Woods?
No. Roger had just left the year before.
Okay.
Yeah, but Roger was in town, and he was like the first cat, other than Marshall Keys, that I met.
Yeah. Wow. And when you were here, DC was the chocolate city.
Oh, absolutely.
It was a
lot of stuff going on at the time. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
So me and Warren Shad, we have this kind of competitive thing about who was the baddest, who had the baddest. Cats at Howard University Jazz. What years were the baddest cats? I tell them, I say, man, I think that about 87.
Oh no! I mean, that's I mean, you can say that, but the answer is no. No. It's definitely from 81 to 85. Definitely.
81 to 85. Gotcha. Right. But man, we had Howard has had some bad cats to come.
With Chris Fun, Quincy. I mean, Kevin Lee. It goes on, and then you got the vocalists. I mean, just unbelievable.
Now Shad going to tell you Warren Shad's going to tell you the baddest cats when he was there.
Right.
They had
right.
some bad cats.
Of course.
Yeah,
of course.
you know,
yeah.
Jerry Allen.
Oh, it's no, yeah.
Carry the Shield.
Yeah, Carry the Shield, yeah.
So we were talking about some story. You got any Fred Irby stories?
Oh, it's like I remember one day at rehearsal. Now this is after the trip to we were out, and I was like, he didn't even. The only thing he knew me from was the audition. I'm straight off the, I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And boom, next thing you know, we're on a plane for 6 weeks together. You know what I'm saying? With all of the cats. So I remember one day we were playing, and I was playing tenor, so I was getting a lot of solos. And so I was warming up, and he was going, and I say that, yeah. Let me tell you something. You need to figure out how you're going to monetize that.
That's
yeah. It's like I hear what you're saying, but how you going to make some money? How you going to make some? And one day I had a work study job, and I used to set up the band room, and it was a very, very good lesson. So one day out of all of the days that I set up the band room before a band rehearsal, I was late. He lit into me.
Wow.
He lit into me just, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't like it at the time, but I understood.
Yeah.
I understood. Of course, I was never late again. But he was a stickler about time, and it taught me that you need to be on time, you know?
Yeah. Let me tell you my story. Irby, man, I was telling you, man, I was just, when I came in, I had no filters. I would speak my mind. I would say anything in front of whoever.
Right.
So it's my senior year.
Okay.
I'm getting, I'm going to graduate this year. Mm-hmm. So the year before, I had said something smart to Irby. And he said, okay.
This was a nickname, Shane.
Yeah, Shane. So okay, all right. So that was spring semester. So
right.
Summer goes by. So here's the fall semester, my senior year. And I've always been in the A band.
Right.
So he was having rehearsal for the band. I never had, it was a foregone conclusion that
Right.
So he made me audition.
What?
So I said, okay, audition. And so, so then when he put up the list, Antonio Parker, B-band.
That's what I'm saying. See that?
Yes.
See that? Irby, man. So, I'm telling you, man. Irby, man.
Yeah, so part of my mind's ready to go confront
Right.
There's something said, hold up. You great graduate.
Right, yeah, that's right. See that?
Yes. I said, man, chill out.
Right.
Play the role. And
just graduate.
And that's when I learned, that taught me one of the best lessons. Mm-hmm. Because, and what I did was, it helped me to change my attitude. Because I realized it was, you got to learn how to play the game.
Right, absolutely.
And all that.
Absolutely.
And so,
navigate.
And everybody was laughing at me.
Right.
But, I never cared about people laughing at me. But I would go to B band with the same focus and energy that I went to A band with. See, and I never even mentioned, or I understood the lesson.
Right.
And once Irby understood, I understood. It was all good.
Right.
But that was one of
right.
That was,
he used to he's famous for that.
Yeah.
He's famous for that.
So yeah, man. So that was one. He taught me some. He taught me some great lessons. In fact, I wanted what's some of the people like Mr. Fred Irby, Dr. Dawkins.
Dr. Dawkins
was Reppert Stone, Dr. Reppert Stone?
Oh yeah,
was
absolutely.
he there with you?
Oh yeah, he was there. He was there. Yeah, he was
so
another one.
What are some of the lessons that you think you?
Well,
how important are they?
Well, it's just that, like I said, Howard to me was a finishing school because I was an old, I was already, 22 when I got there,
Gotcha.
So 21 or 22, so. It was like a finishing school for me, being around Dr. Dawkins, and they would give you lessons that's not really in the book, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Dawkins used to always tell me about. He'd say, man, because I got the gig down at the One Step. I was playing on the jam session at the One Step. So, and he said to me, he says, man, if you just want to go out and play clubs, I probably was late on an assignment or something. I don't know what prompted this, and he goes, if you want to play in clubs, you can just go play in clubs right now.
Yeah.
He said, this ain't really is not really for you. Yeah. And he had a long talk to me about about. You can do the jazz thing at the in clubs and whatever, but you need to focus on this for And I've heard versions of that story before, and I guess I was at the point that I could accept that. You know what I'm saying? And the way that he put it too. Let's not diminish how his delivery of it, because it sounded like he gave him that speech a few times.
One thing I learned about education, man, you don't usually get it to years down the line, but the fact that somebody implanted the seed, right, so that it can germinate, right, and then you say, oh, this is what he's saying, and that's one of the things I learned, and we're gonna talk about in the next segment about education, but that's one of the things I learned, man. So I grew up at Howard. Yeah, same here. But so you got to D.C. You're at Howard. Now you going to jam sessions and stuff? Yes. So you getting your name out there? Right. Now when you go to them jam sessions, are you playing alto or tenor?
I started off playing alto, but then, like I said, I was playing tenor in the band at Howard, and then I was taking piano lessons with Dr. Malachi, John Malachi, and he told me. So we were playing, we were playing in a lesson one time. Because I'd always bring my horn. He would, show me some piano stuff, but I really just wanted to just play with him and just hang with him. And he told me, and I said, who do you think I sound better on, alto or tenor? He says, you swing harder on tenor. I stopped playing alto. Wow. That's how I stopped playing alto.
Man, I tried to make that switch so many times, man.
Yeah, you just got to stick with it.
Yeah, So were you comfortable on tenor?
Yeah.
When you were playing alto, you was equally comfortable?
Yeah, exactly. I was.
But what about learning your song? Now you had to learn all these songs in another key and all that.
Right. It's some tunes that I learned on alto, like Confirmation. And the reason why I say Confirmation, because I was playing it like maybe last year or something, and I was fumbling on it on tenor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I used to know it so well on alto, and that's which has been 30 years ago. So that's but who calls confirmation? But yeah, that is that. Yeah. But after a while, it's not.
So at some point you developed an affinity for the tenor.
Absolutely.
And you lost it for the alto?
I didn't lose it for the alto. It's just that I just seems like that I hear tenor more. It seems like it.
And there's more gigs. There are more solos.
Right. Yeah. Well, in a big band, there's more solos.
Now, tenor is the boss one. I mean, if you play alto, you got to really be able to play it. Right. Right. Because with tenor you can play some low notes. Right. It just has it's a sound. Not that you can't. You got Right. But I think I was taking a lesson with Gary Bartz when he said alto is harder.
Right.
To play the tenor.
Well, if he said it, I agree with it.
Yeah, man. But I listen to mostly tenor players.
But Gary Bartz sounds like a tenor player. Yeah, he sounds like Train on alto. Yeah.
So I hear a lot of Train in your playing. So who's had the most? I know you checked out Joe. Right. Joe. But who's your biggest influence? Like,
I would probably, I would probably say Joe Henderson, because maybe I've tried to, learn his solos more. Oh wow! But I had a phase where I went through, Coltrane a lot, and I used to go over the great Andrew White's house, rest his soul, and buy the transcriptions, So I'd listen, and listen to the records, and definitely. So.
Wow. Do you remember your first gig?
First gig, but that was back in. I was still in college in Houston, and I played at a restaurant. Okay. And I was 19 years old. And on the break, somebody played Giant Steps for me. I had never heard Giant Steps before. I was 19 years old before I even heard Giant Steps. Wow. Yeah. So that went on a whole Train thing,
Yeah. So when did you start gigging when you got to D.C.?
I would say maybe about I would say about I'm gonna say 6 months later, Lawrence Wheatley, started calling me for some gigs because I played down at the jam session.
Yeah.
I tell you,
One step
down. I'll tell you a really quick story. So when I first got to town, and I went to the one step down. And so people had said some stuff, I guess, to Roger Woods or whatever, about me. So I walked in. Roger had the jam session then. So I got up there. They called Moment's Notice, Giant Steps,
oh Lord,
and Cherokee.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't go back for about 6 weeks. Almost.
Roger called that?
Oh yeah.
Roger, you ain't right there.
And I love him like a brother to the and they played those, and so my wife Carmen said, well, you didn't sound so bad on one of the tunes.
Did you feel bad?
Oh yeah. I felt bad, and I knew
so that's part of the music too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I felt bad, and I know that I had a lot of gaps, and I knew that I needed to address. So I went home, and for the rest of the summer, I learned those tunes and a couple of other tunes. And then I went back to the jam session a little bit more prepared. But yeah, wow. But that was an initiation. Okay, so you're supposed to be supposed to be somebody that can play. Yeah. All right, we'll see. We'll see how well you can play.
Wow.
And I love that. We kind of missed that today because it's a different vibe now. Yeah. And I think it could be done today. It could be a little kind of gentler, but you kind of need that kind of trial by fire type thing. Yeah,
no doubt. So what were some of the clubs that were still in existence when you got to D.C.?
Let me see, Philly's Finest. Okay. Charlie's.
Really? I never heard of
Charlie, yeah, that's where I met Marshall Keys.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I met Marshall Keys at Charlie's. The Saloon. You remember the Saloon in Georgetown?
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah. Actually, we would play the jam session at the one step down, and then we'd walk down. Okay. We walk up to Georgetown, buy some records from Orpheus Records. So we get $25 for playing on the jam session. Take that $25 and go buy them records. And then right next to that was the Saloon, and there would be some cats playing in that. Sometimes we'd sit in with them, sometimes we wouldn't. So
did DC welcome you? Like when you got,
I always felt welcome. Yes, from the cats in town. Nass Aberday, one of the first guys I played with over at Philly's Finest. Roger Woods introduced me to him. So all of those guys, Yeah.
You got here a little before I got here in '87, and I was just getting acclimated. But like I said, I heard about you through Kevin Levi, because we were in a band together at Howard. Then I went to Tacoma Station.
Right.
How'd you get that gig in Tacoma Station?
Well, I was playing with a trumpet player, Cameron Brown, and we were playing. I forget what night it was, and so he had started to get some life had started to get into way a couple of things, so he'd missed a couple of gigs here and there, and I told the club owner, Bobby Boyd, I said, I have a band I'd like to bring in sometimes, just like that, not like trying to take the gig. And then just so happens, a few months later, or I don't know when it happens, Cameron told Bobby that he's leaving because he needed to leave town. And then Bobby looked at me and said, "Okay, you run the band," and walked away. And that's how it happened.
How long have you played that gig?
I played it probably from 87, by the time you was in town, 87, 88, to about 91 or 92. Wow. Yeah, it was.
So I know you had Gerald Reed. He was Gerald Reed then.
Pennington, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And who else was in the band?
Sharon Clark. She was singing with us, and Terrell Stafford. Terrell Stafford was.
Yeah, I remember.
So Bobby heard, Bobby kind of like was the leader of the band. So Bobby.
Who was playing piano?
Sometimes Wade Beach.
Okay, Wade Beach.
Harlan Jones sometimes.
Okay. Who's on bass?
James King sometimes. It would rotate. But Pepe Gonzalez probably started. Pepe Gonzalez started. So drums, Harold Summer, a bunch of people.
I remember at some point on I guess you would have a baseball cap on. You would turn it around, and then you would tell a couple of jokes.
Oh yeah, I don't know. And people tell me says you should not go into comedy. People, people. I know you think you're funny. I know you think, but
that's funny.
You'll starve to death.
Yeah. Oh God, that's funny. So that's funny. So I want to talk about 3 guys that I know you're real close to. That, and just tell me how y'all formed your relationship. Gerald, I know him as Gerald Reed, Gerald Pennington.
Gerald Pennington, yeah.
Terrell Stafford.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Tim Warfield.
Tim Warfield. Ooh.
So are those? Now, how'd you meet? You met Gerald at Howard.
At Howard. Gerald,
did y'all connect?
We connected. We're getting ready on that trip we were talking about. Getting ready as soon as I'm riding fresh off the boat from Houston, getting ready to go on tour with the Howard Jazz Ensemble, and it is like we're leaving, getting ready to go out get the plane, hit the plane national. It's like 3 a.m. Irby told us to be there at 3 and blah blah. So we taking a bus down 14th Street, to go to the and. At that time, people used to walk the streets and there were professionals trying to make a living.
Love for sale.
Yeah, love for sale. So Gerald, now everybody's asleep on the bus. Gerald's in the back of the bus saying, hey, give me your business card. Give me your business card.
That's cool.
I feel like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy? And so during the trip, I started off rooming with one saxophone player, and then about halfway the trip, Gerald and I started rooming together, and he ended up getting sick. But we had already kind of made a connection, doing that trip. But that's how that's how it happened.
Y'all been friends ever since?
We've been friends ever since. Brothers, actually.
Yeah. And I love to see that, man. I love to see, everybody. Like I connected with Munir.
Yeah.
It just you don't know how
it just happens. Yeah.
Now I remember Terrell Stafford used to come. He was going to the college. Was he at College Park?
Yeah, he was at College Park.
And he used to look like a school. He had his vest on.
Right, very proper.
So, So would you?
So he came and sat in at the Tuesday night at Tacoma Station one night, and then Bobby said, you should add this trumpet player in the band. You know what I'm saying? And then Terrell might have came one other time. And then Bobby says, you need to put the trumpet player in the band. So I got the idea, you know what I'm saying? So I put Terrell in the band. And Terrell he could always play the trumpet, but he was green as far as playing jazz. And so then it got to a point, and he asked me, he says, man, what are you doing? So one night, I explained 251 to him, and he still gives me credit for that today. And he's put it on a couple of records, and he still tells people the story. But I actually I explained 251 to him. And the rest of it, I always say, look, man, you need to you'll send me some money, because if it wasn't for me, But
that's beautiful, man.
And then he started going to Rutgers while he was still doing the gig. And so he would take the train down here and play the gig, and then he would stay at my house the night, after we finished the gig, and then catch the train going back to when he was in grad school at Rutgers, studying with Bill Fielder.
And you still have him on your recordings? And
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's another brother.
Yeah.
And my man, I got to talk to my man, Tim Warfield.
Oh, Tim.
How'd you meet Tim?
I still remember the day I met Tim.
Really?
I think that was my last year or so at Howard, or last semester, and he came, and I heard him playing inside a practice room. So I opened up the practice room, and I said, who is this? You know what I'm saying? And of course he knew who I was, and we just started to talking, and then and I was still kind of going back and forth between alto and stuff. So we would play on, the student recitals. So I would play alto, he'd play tenor, and Gerald would play trombone, and we would do some Blakey tunes and stuff like that. So he
was going to Howard the same time he was there?
But
he wasn't majoring in music, was he?
No, he was doing. But he would come over to practice.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and so I think he was doing architecture at the time.
Yeah.
And he would. But it was like he was in the music department, because we played on.
Serious.
We played on student recitals, and one time we went and played on they chose some people to go play down on a TV show at 9 o'clock. I can't remember the lady. She had a show here. and we went and played. I remember Billy Taylor was on her show, and they asked if there were any young musicians, but it was already tipped that we were gonna go up and play. But yeah, so and me, Terrell, and not Terrell, Gerald and Tim went and played. So and Tim and I just been, we've been close. And Tim is, he's a good guy. Not only is he a great saxophone player and a musician, he's a great educator, and he's good to bounce stuff off of too, because he has sometimes he has a different perspective.
The last time I talked to Tim, he called me. We talked for 5 hours.
Oh, easy, yeah.
And I mean, we just, he's so cool.
Easy, yeah.
You know, it's about connecting with good people,
right.
Genuinely, like good energy, and
right.
he's good people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so man, but yeah, that's okay. Now, when I got here today, you on the phone talking to Bradford Marsalis, like, I'm going to do an interview. Antonio Parker, he's like, man, you and Bradford, how'd you develop that relationship with Bradford?
Well, but that's another 30-year relationship. So I went going back to my Texas days. They had Wynton had just came out. I mean, this was like his first year touring with his band. You know, he had I saw him with Art Blakey maybe a year or so before, but then when he put the band together. So they had a master class at University of Houston, and Wynton Marsalis. I go to the master class. The master class didn't really materialize because somebody had dropped the ball or whatever. And so, me and another band director was talking to Wynton. I was still, in school there in Houston. And I told Wynton, I said, man, I'd love to meet your brother, Bradford. And then he goes, he said, you got a car? I said, yeah. He said, well, if you take me to McDonald's, I'll take you to go see my brother.
For real?
True story.
Wow.
And so so we drive to McDonald's. And Wynton we in there and eating McDonald's, and he said, man, do you know this Miles solo? We was talking about solo. He go, and he would hum the solos.
Really?
He'd hum the solos, and then he said, do you know this record? So now back then, those days, I don't know if it is now. McDonald's was packed.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, and Wynton's going,
Wow, that's heavy, man.
So we go to the hotel. Wynton he had a key, because he had a master key. He goes, open the door. And then there's Bradford, laying in the bed, and, he was watching TV, sitting up, watching TV, and he says, hey, man, this cat want to meet you. Just like that.
For real?
Just like that. And I always mess with Bradford about this. I think he was watching cartoons.
Oh, man, that's funny.
He goes, and it wasn't like, who are you? That's that Southern thing, And he says, come on in, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, he's come on in, and goes, and I told him I play saxophone, blah, 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 blah. He says, well, I want to hear you play. I said, it's okay, And then he says, he kept going. You want to hear you play. So he puts his horn together and hands it to me. So I start playing a little bit more. He says, that's enough. And then he goes, well, what we doing today? That's what he said. So, and I took him to Texas Southern, and I introduced him to a couple of the professors. One of the professors thought he was Wynton, but so that whole thing goes on. Yeah, and we hung out the whole day, and we had lunch, and then I went to the concert that night, and and then the next year. A few months later, he was a judge at the Notre Dame Jazz Festival where I got that award, and the judges were him and Wynton and Ron Carter and Tony Williams, and I forget who some. They were the judges for the Notre Dame Jazz Festival.
Man.
And Bradford, he told me Shelley Carroll is another great tenor player. He was in that band. He plays with the Ellington band. And anyway, and so and I did this little kind of gimmicky thing where I circle breathed and kept playing and playing. And Bradford, he ripped me a new one, man. Yeah. That is the most unmusical thing that you should have done in that situation. And blah 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 blah. And so I'm like, hey, you was kind of right. I was trying to cause attention to myself.
So do y'all talk about music and
all the time? all the time. The conversation, it might start off with something else, but it's going to end up on music, on how life parallels music and jazz musicians and the scene and all of that.
Man, that must be great to have a kind of relationship.
Yeah, it's really, it has helped me tremendously. I have to say, and he's really into classical music now. And I tried to play that classical piece with him 2 years ago at the Mid-Atlantic. But he's just an inspiring guy, just like Tim. Just inspiring people, and just inspiring people to be around. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful. It's nothing different.
So what's up with all this jazz thing with jazz and golf? You, Michael Chalmers, y'all. I think Thad Wilson talk about
Thad Wilson,
Branford. Don't y'all go playing golf together?
Yeah, we go. Oh, absolutely.
How'd you get into golf, man?
We going on trips together. It was playing golf. I think it's just the misery. No, I don't. Because golf is such it's a great game. It's very, very difficult. I think we're kind of drawn to that, but it's really a great game because it's like you versus the golf course. It's like if we're playing basketball, then I'm trying to impose myself on you, but here's the course. Now you have to navigate it, it's very fun, and you have to manage your emotions. You have to manage your, So if you see a shot out there, these things like Tiger Woods, hitting the ball over those trees, over the water and stuff. Now, if you think you got enough ego to go for it to see what, or you could play, smart. So it teaches you about management, game management. And you learn, you can, after about four and a half hours a person, you learn about them. You learn.
Is it anything like jazz?
Other than you have to practice, and you have to stay on it.
So are you good?
Well, I'll put it to you like this. They're not. I'll put it to you like this here. I'm not the worst.
I got you.
I'm not the worst. So
is Branford good?
Yeah, we're about the same.
Okay.
We're about the same. Okay. And I also play with Joey Coslerado. He plays good. And so we all talk about how good we used to be. You know what I'm saying? The whole, But all of us are around about the same. Shoot in the 80s when we're playing on a regular basis.
So how long you been playing golf?
Since '97, the year that Tiger won the Masters.
Oh, wow, man.
That's man. And actually, Branford might have started a year or two before me,
I got a couple more questions before we take a break.
Okay.
So what's your musical philosophy? Like, what's your overarching philosophy about music?
I think that you should address melody. I think music should be about the melody, should be about sound and a feeling, okay? And so the devices and the theory of it are also always present, but it should be a secondary consideration. Okay. It's always about the melody, the feeling, and the sound. That's what it's about.
And what advice would you give a young person who wants to pursue a career in jazz? Like, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to just get with a mentor or something. Get with a mentor. Learn your instrument. Learn the vocabulary of jazz. And learn the vocabulary of jazz first. And get with a mentor that can help you to that place.
Okay. Last question before we take a break. You ready for this?
I think so. I don't know. Am I?
No. What is this thing about oatmeal?
Oh.
You and Roger.
So, Roger, he doesn't like oatmeal. Okay, you don't like it? So I'm going to put it in your face every time. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So he doesn't like oatmeal, but he'll eat oatmeal cookies. I'm saying, wait a minute, man. That's something's not jiving with that. So we just have a lot. And he generally does not. I think he honestly does not like oatmeal.
I didn't like it. I don't know how y'all eat that stuff. Then I
Oh, you don't like oatmeal either?
Well,
it's nice to know.
I eat it now because I'm trying to, get all this together.
I hear you.
But I gotta put like pecans, raisins, cinnamon.
That's good though.
And
that's good. Cinnamon is really good.
Blueberries.
Blueberries is really good.
And I get this still
oats.
Yeah,
still oats.
with
Best.
the
best.
That's
Absolutely.
the only if it's not that particular, I can't eat.
Well, you should. Well, I think quick oats, just my opinion,
Okay.
should only be used in baking. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Yeah.
Okay.
You know, or if you really on the road or something, you know. But
Yeah.
no, but if you got the time, you should eat the still oats.
Yeah, man. Wow, man. I learned a lot about you in this
Man.
first section,
Yeah.
first part, man. Wow. Well, there it is. So we just listened to the wonderful Paul Carr. This is A Conversation in Jazz, and we'll be right back.